Where's the remote to turn off
There's no remote. Use board.
Oh, yeah. It's good.
Actually, it's good on you.
The second guy, well, besides me, you're the second guy I've seen wear signatures
They
today.
wearing these shirts.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. Oh, these are warm.
Ooh, we'll get started. Hopefully, we'll get out of here by about 1. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I feel like I'm in the dark here. Okay, so CTD, I guess, hi everyone, I'm Chris. Originally from the Ilsom branch, was a teacher in FM there, now with Crooked Marketing Team. So, and I guess since it's a small crowd, if you would just like your name and where you guys are from.
Andrea from the Gimpo branch.
Okay.
Ryan, what's up?
Okay.
Mine is Matt. I'm from Indiana, North America.
Yeah. Paul. Max, Paul, Andrea. Owen. Okay. Okay. Well, first of all, have you guys taught C2?
Not as big, the C2. Yeah.
C2, yeah, taught C2. Okay, so it's kind of a very similar setup. It's just with C2 debate, it's kind of focusing more on the debate aspect of it. And then also, has any of you guys actually did any high school or college debate? Okay, so go guys there. And then, do you guys also offer master's debate?
Yes.
Offer master's. Okay, so this will definitely help the kids get primed and ready for master's debate. However, even though it's C2 debate, the focus of, especially with Eagle and Alba, isn't primarily like the typical debate where you have a particular format on that. So, so just going the agenda. So these are the 3 actual program objectives. It's the perspectives, creating logical arguments and reasoning, and then presentation. So you'll see throughout the class, they don't really focus on debate formats or even kind of like, you know, the jargon that they use in debate, like Mr. Speaker, fellow debaters, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of just stripping down debate and basically, okay, so when people do have a debate, what are basically the root things that you would need to, or basically the foundation you would need to have a particular debate. So, so those are the 3 things to focus on while you are in class. So now, the way the class is set up, to have, now the book is set up to, you can run it just like a regular class, but to have the ideal class, you want to persuade your kids, motivate your kids to do a lot of the work outside of the classroom. Okay, so it is set up to where if kids come in, they didn't do any homework, didn't do anything at all during the week, you can still go through it and have a decent class. Okay, but the goal is that the kids outside of class prepare for the upcoming class by doing the research, kind of learning about what they're going to be talking about with that. So it's a flipped classroom setup. So the first several pages, and we'll go over it, it's actually their homework, but it's in the textbook just in case they come in, no one does the homework, you can go over it in class. So it also kind of changes, you know, the suggested time setup because we'll go through the you know, suggested time for how to go through the class, but it's very depending on your classroom, it's going to change depending on what your students have done outside of the classroom. Okay, so it's a flip classroom, and I hear a lot of time, from different teachers, students don't do the homework outside the classroom. So I highly recommend just motivating them to that debate is bigger than life. Debate is bigger than life. Like, if they don't understand debate, they will never accomplish anything in life. Okay, so when I was in Ilsan with the Master's Debate program, in a short while we were able to build that program pretty extensively, just by pushing. Well, we also pushed the debate contest, but pushing that if you learn how to debate, you learn how to argue. If you learn how to argue, you're always right. And then just applying it to, if you want to get a job interview, that's basically an argument. You got to persuade the other person, that I'm the best person for the job. You want to get a pay raise. If you want to, they have to, for college, to get into college, they have to do an interview. Okay? In that interview, to get into the college, you have to persuade, you have to argue. You have to tell, basically convince the other person, I'm right. Whoever, your committee on choosing who they are, they're wrong because I'm, the right person. So just kind of persuade them, push them to, if you do this stuff outside the classroom, it's just going to make a better classroom environment, and you'll be able to actually work more on the things that will help you in class instead of just reviewing and learning background information. Okay. Second thing about this is that there's only a debate every third class. The reason why this was set up this way was, especially with Eagle and maybe even Alba, to just throw them in a debate the first week is just going to be disastrous. If they've never debated, they don't even know the structure, they don't even know the content really, or how to create a valid argument. It's going to be very difficult for the teacher to just make it happen to where it's actually worthwhile for their time. So there's a debate every 3 classes. However, we don't mind if, let's say in Alba or Alba class, or even at the end of Eagle, where the students are getting it and they're understanding it, and they understand the process, and they basically how to create arguments and rebuttals and all that. We don't mind if we have debates, every 2 weeks or even every week, if they can handle it. But it's set up to gradually get them into debate. But definitely, if you think your students can handle debate more often, we encourage you to do so. Okay, so this is just a suggested class structure. Okay, and I'll go over this once we go through the actual lesson. But the first 30 minutes, discover and research, it's basically a review of their homework. Okay, a review of their homework. So the 30 minutes is allotted, and this 30 minutes is basically allotted for a class they didn't do any homework. They have no idea what the topic, they have no idea what the background information is. And it's basically, time is set so that if they didn't do it. However, let's say you do have a class, those students, they believe in you, they took in what you said about debate is larger than life, they did all their homework. Definitely, you will not need to spend 30 minutes at the beginning of class, okay? Because it's just basically a review of that. And then if you spend a lot less time on this, then you can spend more time on rhetorical devices, the perspective frame, and the rhetorical project. Okay, so just because of the flipped classroom idea set, please don't think that this class structure is set in stone. You have to go 30 minutes at the beginning, just because it's going to change depending on what your students do outside of class. So it starts with a review of their homework. The perspective map, it just basically outlines the next 3 weeks in Eagle, and then outlines basically the 3 perspectives. So it's just a basic overview. Rhetorical devices, this is where they're going to actually learn a debate skill. So if you start with Eagle, it starts very simple. with what is an argument, how to create an argument, what's reasoning. So it just leads them through on the different debate skills. And then in ALBA, it's kind of a review of the previous, what they've learned, and then adding more different policies. And then ALBA, it's a similar thing. So it's basically covering it, debate skill. Then perspective frame, 45 minutes, and it's basically just going over the 3 perspectives that is offered in the class, and just kind of basically discussing whether or not, you know, if the topic is on school punishment, if you know, if spanking should be allowed in school, okay, and then just discuss with that. And then basically the last hour is the rhetorical project, and it's set up week 1 of each unit is a writing. Week 2 is a kind of like just a public speaking, and then week 3 is a debate. And then the last 10 minutes is just a primer to get them ready for next week, basically so that they know what they need to get done for their Okay, so component rationale for the first 30 minutes, again, it's a review for their homework, and they should have done all this at home. All this at home. So even though it's in the textbook, even with the terminology preview, you know, they should have looked at it at home. They should have studied the key terms at home. And here, if they've done that, you know, I would just basically ask, or have students come in with 1 or 2 words that they don't understand based off what they see in the textbook. Okay. Here, discover and research. They basically watch the infographic video, and then answer the questions. But they again should have done it at home. So if they have done it at home, you don't need to spend an extra 5 minutes to watch the video again and answer the questions. You can just basically review the questions, and then discover and research. So at home, they're supposed to choose one of the perspectives and research the project at home from the media library. And all the lessons except for some of the ALBA Plus, there's going to be 3 different perspectives or 3 different viewpoints or 3 different choices, and they need to choose one of them and do the research. And then also for each perspective in the media library, there are at least 3 different articles per perspective, and each of those articles are summarized. However, I'm hoping by the time they get to ALBA Plus, they're not going to be needing a summarized article. So even if you're an ALBA Plus, I would encourage them to just do the research online. You know, do it yourself. With Eagle, you know, they'll probably need a lot more hand-holding, and then depending on your class and hours. So, again, like I said, just basically research for their homework. Okay, perspective map is just basically just an overview of that particular unit or that particular lesson. So again, it takes 5 minutes, and it's basically just to kind of give them a background information and kind of see how different things are connected and related to that. Just because for each unit, it's all under one main category. So for instance, in Eagle and ALBA, first unit is about education. They're going to go over 3 different things about education. Okay, so rhetorical device, basically they cover a new skill, practice the new skill. Before starting week 2, they even review the previous week's skill and then get into a new one and then practice the skill. Okay. I guess from the different classes I've seen, and then just my experience working with debate students, and then also seeing like some of the elite debate students. I was at YTN last week with a couple of the teams. So each week they are going to present a new skill, but it's almost pointless if they don't understand just the main thing of how to create an argument. Because if they don't understand how to create an argument, they're not going to understand what a logical fallacy is, because they don't even know what a logical argument is. So how are they going to be able to identify, if an argument is wrong? So even though they are going to go over a new skill every week, I would highly recommend if they can't, if you're teaching Eagle and you have to spend the whole term covering how to create an argument for them to get it, or how to create a rebuttal, logical argument or rebuttal, I would highly recommend spending that time and then just quickly reviewing the new skill for that week. Because the skills do build upon each other. And just for marketing reasons and for textbooks reasons, we need to offer a new skill each week. But there's no point covering a new skill if they completely don't understand the previous week's skill. Okay. So just, I guess, just something to think about when you're covering the debate skill for that week. Okay. So perspective frame, they go over the 3 perspectives, and in the textbook it is set up that they can re-watch that particular section of video again. So have you guys seen the infographic videos? No, you guys haven't. Okay, I should have thought of that. Should have brought one. For Eagle and Alba, how the videos are set up. There's about a 30-second introduction that kind of talks about what we're going to talk about, and then quickly goes into the 3 different perspectives or viewpoints or choices that they have. And then the video is set up to where it goes into the first perspective, second perspective, and then third perspective. You know, I have one on my computer. I'll show you guys at the end of class. Okay, but then during the class, the videos are kind of cut up in different parts of the textbook, and it's again for those students or for the classes that haven't watched the video at all. You know, they just showed up class, didn't even watch it at home. Okay, and that way they can review the perspective in this particular section. However, if you have a really awesome class, they did everything at home, you don't need to show the video again, because by now they've already seen the video probably 3 or 4, 5, 6 times. Okay, so just because the video is there doesn't mean you have to play it. It's there if you need to, if the students completely don't understand, you know, what perspective you're talking about. And also the video is there if you have, you know, I don't want to say this, but like a slower class where maybe they need to watch the video 2 or 3 times to understand what's going on in the video. So, again, in the textbook, a lot of things are there for if you need it, but don't feel like you have to play everything in the textbook just because there's a play button there. Okay. So they can watch the video and take notes, but if they already know about that perspective, it's basically a discussion and kind of like, okay, Owen, what do you think about this perspective from the video that you've seen and what you know about it? And then kind of bouncing it off to another instructor. And you almost, the ideal thing would be to get students to kind of just have their little debate of themselves on why this particular perspective is a good perspective, bad perspective, or possibly, well, it's not good, but it's not horrible, and have them rationalize and give reasons and arguments of why that perspective is good or not. In the textbook, we've also added some media cards. Okay, and again, the media cards, ideally, when we set up this class, we weren't planning on putting media cards in there, but we found out that if you have a dead classroom and they're not talking, especially, you know, depending on what your class is, to get them, you know, 45 minutes is a long time if you're depending on discussion and no one's talking. So we understand that. So there are going to be media cards for most of the lessons, at least the lessons 1, 2, and 3, 7, and 12. I know for Eagle there's media cards for every lesson. Alba and Alba Plus, those will be the lessons. But even if the media cards are there, you don't have to play them if the class is, you know, definitely into that perspective and discussing and going on with that. So, once we get in the SIG, I'll kind of show you how each perspective is broken up. Okay, and then rhetorical project. Okay, so here, before they start the rhetorical project, they learn a rhetorical device. Trying to think of one. I remember Contupliano or something, like a lot of the names I can't even pronounce, but it's basically presentation skills that they can practice while they make their speech, or literary writing skills for their writing. And then in the rhetorical device, beginning of the rhetorical device, they learn what it is. They'll see a real life example of that. The real life example, a lot of times, well, it's someone that is a prominent figure in world history or current culture. And there will be a media card there to show the students, okay, this is how you do that particular rhetorical device that I can't pronounce. Okay, so they'll be able to see example of that, and then they apply it in their project. Okay, and then in their project, like I said before, it's either writing, speaking, or debate. Okay, writing, speaking, or debate, and they're basically going to be given a debate prompt. And for the writing, they're just basically going to write an argumentative essay off that debate prompt. For the speaking, they're just basically personal speech of that debate prompt, and then third one with debate, have an actual debate. So again, like I said, if your students are gung-ho about debate and they want to debate even more, you could use, a lot of times you could use that prompt. Some of the prompts might need a little tweaking, but most of the prompts you can use just in an actual debate. Very similar to typical 2.0 project. They work together, kind of frame, understand what they're going to do the project, they present, and then there's feedback. And then last 10 minutes is the timer that goes through. Any questions? I guess how class flows? No? Okay.